Hey everybody, Ben here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up for yourself each and every day. If you're here from the short, you already have a backstory. If not, our word was seasons. And right before I filmed that, what was coming through was dealing with cycles and not really seeing the magnitude of it. Uh, at least personally, me, sometimes I'll look at them and it'll be like, yeah, whatever, it's over. I got through it. And it was just seen on a surface level. But looking back and seeing the magnitude of everything that would have taken place to try to keep us in these places, it may not all make sense, but how large it was to actually have closed it out is what's coming through. Looking back, we had two supporting angel number cards. We have new levels. This card came out yesterday. Your prayers are answered, being heard, exalted, lifted up, strength, dedication, and work. This is, closing out this cycle, looking at this season. And then we got getting closure, wrapping up this chapter. Also, release the old, new phase, perspective, looking ahead. So, uh, like I said, everything is taking place. Like, we may just look at it as a surface level. I know I've said the other day, let's look at a basic wound, and we might call it a wound, and we may think that's just, all we got or the biggest one that we're dealing with, when really it might be a symptom, if we will, of a much deeper seated wound, like a new pattern or behavior that we subconsciously created to uh, mend that wound that's deeply seated. So let's say we clear that out and something else comes up, and then we finally clear that out. And we just looked at them as wounds, whatever. Maybe we're in that place that we don't really acknowledge our progress or the bigger picture. It is over, and yeah, I got through that, it's whatever. But if we actually look back and see how uh, how many things were thrown in our way to try to keep us there or pull us back, it really emphasizes how large of a congratulations this is to you, or is this driving force to have kept pushing or to keep that energy flowing to keep you moving forward. When I initially pulled out my deck, I saw that there was one card upright, and it's the Nine of Wands, fortitude. I'm looking at this as strength to keep pushing forward in these situations. Like, I don't want to be too personal, but I find this funny when I always look back. Two significant relationships when I was trying to leave, I got uh, blood clots, in my lung and my heart. So you can see how that was trying to keep me there. What was going on here? Why would have this happened when I'm physically trying to leave, move, pack, go? Why would I be knocked down and not able to function in this environment that's, obviously not healthy? And uh, obviously recovering and getting out of those, uh, if you were in a place of just a place of vulnerability naturally, and you want to be somewhere that's safe, or I can't do this, I can't move right now, I can't do any of these things. Why am I stuck? Why am I stagnant? And then maybe we get out of that and you go for the big one. Maybe that was the symptom of the rooted wound, if we will. And then things really start coming at you. Everything and everything is experienced. And maybe then we learn about spiritual protection. I'm not saying everything's all connected or there's anything to be blamed on. We could be doing this on our own, or ancestrally something is trying to keep us there. Or maybe there's an energy in general that is, trying to keep us in that space. Why would there be so much resistance? What would change by us actually closing this cycle out? Well, obviously something huge would be taking place. And maybe it's benefiting others for us to stay in that place, or uh, a lineage at whole, or an energy at whole. And to continuously be striving forward to get through such, these experiences. Uh, yes, at times we do want to blame, but if we start to view it differently, and that is our, again, driving force, it is something uh, to keep an open mind, because no matter what is coming at us or coming up in our experience, that we look at a block or a hold up or resistance in general, we can really try to reflect on this magnitude of how many things tried to stop this or rear you off your path, and yet you kept moving forward. So it must be something huge, in general, if we're still trying to get through to it. What else do we have here, Spirit? Three of Swords, heartbreak. Naturally, in any cycle or experience, heartbreak will be had, whether on a platonic level, romantic, or maybe even a family experience. Obviously, when we start going through these things, we start seeing situations, people, places we work for what they are. And our whole experience may have been viewed in a different frame of light. And when we start to see these things, it hurts. And maybe that was something we would have called a support system naturally, friends, family, or romantic partners. And to see true colors, but to see the motives. A lot of people wear masks at times, and that is a shame, but it is how they operate. And obviously, just going through any experience of healing or a wound, closing out a cycle, generates a lot of other internal emotions that we're feeling just with self, let alone those we may have held close to us. And to keep pushing forward, seeing that bigger picture, and it's quite hard if we really don't take that time to look back and see how many things may have been placed in our way to try to deter us from moving forward. The Tower, disruption. Naturally, we would have experienced these a lot. Maybe there was just one big one and a bunch of little ones, but I kind of feel like once you really start to go into it, a lot of shit's gonna come down, and it might have came down all at once. It might have been overwhelming, and again, there wasn't that uh, system to lean on, if you will, during this period. Like I said, I think if you go down the right one, like the right symptom or the right wound, to start picking at it, it snowballs, and then everything just keeps coming. Eight of Swords, self-defeat. Really just looking at uh, being in this space of naturally just everything being ripped and torn away, and whether it was partially our doing or all of it, or uh, felt like the entire external or our system in general was being torn, uh, can get to this place that seems like defeat, but yet when we have to rebuild, everything that doesn't fit has to be removed, and we have to start again. And I'm not just saying financially or job or living relationship. We're going down to the core. Like, this is very deep, and uh, what we thought, who we thought we were, and uh, being the reflection of our past experiences, weren't valid. They weren't true, and everything and anything is being rebuilt at that time. But it can feel like a quite of a low place at times. Ace of Swords, mental clarity, coming to this place of getting closure. And getting closure, we look at a lot of, interacting with people, being heard for our last time, or saying something or hoping they're going to say something to validate our emotions. And uh, I feel like it's more experience during reflection when we really think of, they always say, oh, you got to forgive everybody. And then it all goes away and it's for you. Uh, we can look at that a lot of different ways, but let's look at it as an understanding of why this was this way for this long, or I experienced this for this long, how it was holding me back or causing me grief or trouble in my experience, and uh, what that reflection or that wound was, and what I'm becoming or moving into, how that was, and how everything's like lining up, and the puzzle pieces came together to keep me in this space or this cycle. You know, it that is closure on analyzing in my mind. You know, we put the puzzle pieces together. We can also do that of current. Why am I experiencing this or that? Why was I forced to go through this? What did I experience or become, or a trait that I may have been uh, limited on, did I now create by having to go through that situation? You know, that strength. It's kind of like being put in a hardship, whether physically, uh, through material, or mentally, that you had to create your own through the hardship. You know, you created this strength through the trouble, and that quality or trait that we may have been limited on due to a wound or a symptom, if we will, has now been uh, established. Ace of Wands, new beginnings. Uh, Sky's the limit on this one. When you really think about it, if the majority of your life, or the most that you remember, and you look at uh, this image or who you were during that period, was a direct reflection of a cycle and not really your true you. You know, maybe it was suppressed at a time, or the wound we allowed to suppress us, or we fell into patterns, or, you know, whatever it may have been, or we had more experiences that just made it worse. And then we embodied that and reflected it more in our experience. Uh, Actually closing this out and rebuilding from this place, we're coming into our true self, who we always were, but we allowed circumstances or the external to reform us at that time. So then we reflected a different view of us. This is, like I said, sky's the limit. Uh, it's probably a lot of learning and experiencing at the same time of uh, managing these new traits or qualities that we may have not experienced or expressed a lot prior, because we were in a different mindset. We may not have had that self-esteem or that confidence or that strength. It was maybe knocked down from everything and anyone around us to keep us in this place. But we are at a new level. We have moved up. We have moved forward. And I'm going to leave this here. Congratulations. If you're going through it, just remember and try to reflect. Try to put the puzzle pieces together if you want to make sense of how large this actually is, and how much it was embedded and rooted in every aspect of your life. It's kind of a mind fuck at that point. But anyway, if it resonates, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you all later.